Richard Chambers, Managing Director at DPS Facades. We provide glazing, rain screen and facade solutions across the whole of the UK. Regarding awareness of the Building Safety Act, obviously among installers, I think it's a real big problem that installers tend not to know about the Building Safety Act because they are moreover led by their subcontractors or main contractors with regards to what information they feel they need to know. And again, it comes down to what legislation do I need to know? Well, I don't need to deal with that. I only install. I only do the physical fixing on site. But we need to make sure that people are aware that under the Building Safety Act, if you make a change, if you select a product, then you become a designer and you have responsibilities. And those responsibilities aren't realised by people. I think as the industry as a whole, people won't realise those responsibilities until, unfortunately, something's actioned on them. But people really need to take the time to be aware of it. It's a fairly new piece of legislation, and don't get me wrong, it's a lengthy read if you go through the full thing, but people need to have it delivered to them in a concise way so that their relevant part they understand and the implications and impacts of it. So with regards to contractual implications from main contractors down to subcontractors, we find that there's very little with regards to the Building Safety Act, because although main contractors are aware of the Building Safety Act, they don't really go down to the detail of checking what the competence of the people are or demonstration of the competence. You fill out your PQQ when you register with the main contractor, and then from there you keep it periodically updated and you say that your members of staff have done X, Y and Z and they have got X years of experience, which is all great, but we need to have that standard which says this is where your people need to be across their various different roles. Now, the JCI White Paper defines that. That tells you exactly what standard you need to be at and what ongoing learning you need to be looking at to define competency. And to be honest, for a company like ours, that wouldn't cause us any problems for that to be put in the main contract because we're already taking steps to do that. But whereas some other subcontractors are just not aware of the implications that it does have on them. So any contractual clauses with regards to demonstrating competence, they may shy away from or be a little bit taken aback by, and their surprise is that nobody wants, from the main contractor side in the industry, they don't want to have somebody who is deemed not competent, and from the subcontract side of things, they obviously want to make sure that they have plenty of forewarning about this upcoming competency that they're going to need. So it's about getting the information out there for everyone to know. So installers themselves, what they need to comprehend about the Building Safety Act is this requirement comes directly to them, and it's not just for installers, it's for everybody in the industry. They need to realise that they have a responsibility. It's well recognised now that in the Health and Safety at Work Act, everybody has a responsibility for themselves and for others. It's not just down to the main contractor, it's not just down to the subcontractor, to their employer. They all have their responsibility for it. People need to be educated and realise that the Building Safety Act has direct impact on everybody, not just installers, not just main contractors, not just architects. From our point of view, the moment we receive a specification and change a specification, we become a designer. Now, that's not just our designers in-house who do it, that is also our procurement team who decide to change from one insulation product to another or X to Y. You then take in design responsibility as an individual, and that needs to be highlighted to everybody. So in readiness of the Building Safety Act becoming wider and having more implications directly on subcontract installers on sites or on projects, we as a company, we've started making sure that all of our team members are up to date and that they are enrolled on the relevant GQA courses, they're doing the relevant CPDs. Now, the Building Safety Act's open to interpretation as to what competence is, whereas the JCI White Paper moreover defines that. It sets a level of competency of where people need to be. Now, as a company, to make sure that everybody has that competence is absolutely crucial, because when this becomes the accepted norm, this level of competency, we will be one of the few companies that are able to say we are competent and at that level. And I think all companies should be making preparations for it not just subcontractors and installers, but every company across the entire industry, to be honest. The key point of the JCI White Paper for me, the key takeaway for it, is to demonstrate that competency. I mentioned earlier that if you make a change, you become a designer. If you are going to become a designer, you need to have that level of competency, and it's about making sure that your qualification doesn't just suit your job title, but suits the role that you're actually carrying out. I often find that titles are titles and they're interchangeable across various different companies. So one title at one company might not be the same as the job that somebody's completing at a different company. For that reason, you need to make sure that the level of competency you're working to is to the actual function you're carrying out as opposed to the title that you hold.